You are now listening to Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell, the voice for the people. Join Richie alongside co-host property damage attorney Hans Kennon as they bring light to the taboo world of big insurance companies, exposing their tactics and fighting for justice. Hear stories from contractors across the state. Contractor Talk, here to protect homeowners and uncover the truth.
All right, welcome to the show, Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell, Monday night, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m., live on 94.9 FM, 950 AM, The Answer, and also streaming everywhere you can find us, whether it be on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. We're on Spotify, iTunes, anywhere you can think of, we are there for you. Every week we have a new show for you, a new guest, a new topic, and today's topic is also a great topic for not only the consumers listening, but contractors alike. So we're talking about funding today and how we can possibly fund the claim that you're on while we wait it out for the insurance company to do what they should have done 1 year, maybe 2 years, 3 years ago, who knows? I think that's why the statute of limitations in property claims to bring it to suit is 5 years. I think there's a reason for that because it literally takes that long to get through these initial processes. And that's what we're going to talk about today on the show. Hans Kennon here with Kennon Law Firm. Kennon Law. I got to think of some sort of jingle. We'll figure it out. But also the man with the master plan here to answer any questions you may have. And I always forget to talk about the live call-in number. Here it is. We are a live show. So if you're listening right now on the Central Florida radio dial, call 407-774-8255. You have a question, comment, we'll be able to take it on right here live on the show. What's going on, Hans?
Oh, no, glad to be back again. Yet another week's gone by. Legislative session is going to begin on Tuesday.
Wait, is that tomorrow?
What? It is.
Holy cow.
60
days.
It
snuck up on us.
60 days of legislative entanglements, and we'll see what happens. But, yeah, legislative season starts tomorw. So
and already the articles are flowing with what insurance companies are doing with the billions of dollars in surplus. And then, in the midst of a crisis.
I thought they were broke.
Well, they were, but
that's what they said.
Happened?
They told me they were broke.
They were broke, but their subsidiaries were boasting billions of dollars of profits. I think that's how they did it here in the state of Florida. It's not a magic show. It's just follow the money.
Exactly. Like the guy said, the left pocket is empty, but the right pocket's bulging. Yeah, and they were complaining about.
That's right. And if you don't know what we're talking about, search. I even got an email from the Orlando Sentinel. It's like, check this out about property insurers now overpaying their subsidiaries while crying broke, creating this fake crisis in the state of Florida, and then finding out that even some of their subsidiaries had to give money back to the Florida company. They're like, oops, we took too much. You need some more money to pay claims.
It's just a zero. It was just an extra zero. That's all it was.
Oopsie. Well, if you didn't know, Florida insurers are capped at 5% of profit. So a lot of them carry about 4.5% of profit. Mm-hmm. Why is that? Because they're not in the game to make money as an insurance company. They're in the game of protecting your property and paying claims. That's why they have a cap on their profits. Well, they were making so much.
Who would want that investment at 4.5%?
Not many people. Not a very good investment.
So how do you make money?
That's funny. I don't know. I guess maybe you start another company to adjust the claims and then overpay them where that doesn't have a cap on, and you can make billions and billions of dollars there by other companies. Like, have you ever seen like a universal claim and then you get something from Alder Adjusting in the mail? Who is Alder Adjusting? I don't know, but I think it's a subsidiary, isn't it?
I think it is subsidiary, wholly owned perhaps.
Right. Interesting how we uncover many things that are plenty available for us all, but we want the OIR, Office of Insurance Regulation, to Citizens, who's owned by the state of Florida, and basically any of those fairs and those other agencies up in Tallahassee all don't want us to know what is going on, to the tune of these laws came out in 2020, 2021, and then now finally in December of 2024, this article says the real numbers and facts were coming out about these insurance companies.
But the study was actually prepared in November of 2022, a month before all this legislation was passed because of the crisis. That report was done, sitting in the vault, it's like an Indiana Jones.
Right.
And like they put it in the back of this big place full of right next to the Holy Grail.
Yeah, where's Nick Cage when we need him, right? To find it.
Was that report? I think it wasn't Harrison Ford.
Right. Well, no.
National Treasure. You're looking at.
Yeah, it was the wrong movie.
It is a bit of National Treasure, though, actually.
The Holy Grail versus that. Okay, yeah. I got it. Well, at least I didn't go back to the Goonies, though. So, Anyways, they were looking for treasure. No, you didn't get the reference in the 80s? Anyways, all right. I'm dating myself now. Anyways, back onto it. Well, today, now because of this, and this is whole lead up to why we're needing, possibly needing funding to get us through from point A to Z to put a homeowner back to pre-loss condition, is because of the crazy delays that insurance companies put on us. They literally wrote a book a long time ago, delay, deny, defend, and that's exactly their motto, is to delay the claim as long as we can, right? And then possibly a denial, and then where they have to then reach out to you and your firm and say, okay, we've been denied. Our next step is to file suit. But they made so many changes, they took away lawyer fees. So if you do win, say if there's a $10,000 dispute, you need every penny for that $10,000. Well, now they got to break some of that off and pay you to then get that $10,000.
Yes. Yeah, they do.
But they're really not getting $10,000, so therefore the roof can't get put back on or their damages can't get fixed. So you're back into that problem.
Right. There may be essentially what we're going to call a funding gap, because the insurers spend all their money paying their affiliates, then the money to pay claims, takes longer to get it. So I wonder, is there anyone we know who could assist that gap between on funding and funding the contractor and helping out? I don't know. Is a person out there like that?
And there could be, because like what makes damages worse, right? The not getting the repairs done.
Sure.
Right? So if you can get the repairs done up front, you're gonna save a lot of money, and you're gonna get it done.
Mitigate some damage.
Absolutely. And so in a way to do that, we're going to introduce our guest today, Craig Bissell with National Claims Funding, and like you said, it's Bissell, like the what did you say with the
vacuum sweeper?
I love it. That's what you remember.
There you go.
I love it. What's
Easy
going
to
on,
remember. Yeah. Happy to be here. Happy to have an opportunity to spend some time with your members and see Hans again and yourself. We're as busy as all get out right now. It's just unbelievable how busy we are from every part of the country. People calling, people needing help, people realizing that if they want to grow their business, they need some additional cash, and that's the role we play for them.
I mean, is this for insureds or just contractors primarily, or who do you serve?
Just contractors, Hans.
Oh, okay.
So literally everybody that's in the property damage claims insurance space. So attorneys, engineers, public adjusters, restoration companies, and roofers.
Oh, okay.
That's excellent, and that's still good for consumers to hear, because if they're needing to put their roof back on, and they have a contractor willing to do it, but they're saying, I'm waiting until we get a nod from their insurance company that we're going to get paid. So they won't move forward with that, right? Nobody's going to order roof tiles on a big house without approval from the insurance company or some sort of loan in place, or now with Craig with National Claims Funding. NCF is what we call it in the industry, and it's a well-used tool for contractors to then recommend, or consumers to recommend to their contractor to say, listen, we have a way that we can get you paid now so that way I can put my roof on before we get into storm season. How many months are we away from storm season?
Oh, let's see. It's not very far. I mean, it's
June 1st, right?
June
That's
1.
Right.
So it's March already. March, April, May, 90 days.
Yeah. Whew. And that's the challenge, Richie, for most of these folks, is finding the cash. You know, and particularly restoration companies and roofers, they want to take on more work, they want to take on more insurance work, but if you don't have the money to do that, you can't do it. And so that's really where we come into play.
I found with some contractors that I assist that honestly, like I said, if it takes too long, no matter how good a relationship they have with their insured, the insureds get frustrated. They go, I found a guy to do it for half the price, or whatever the crazy stuff that happens. And I always say there's nothing more expensive than a cheap roof. But that's the kind of thing where like the relationships can sour just because of cash flow.
Right, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Or 2 years down the road, they forget who that is, right? I mean, the first year they're holding hands, and after that, they're like, it's like Leonardo DiCaprio, and, it's just totally, he's the one that went into the water. Right. Anyway, so there's a separation there. That's where I was going with that. You totally didn't pick that up.
Sure.
So, so we, in addition to providing funding, all those invoices that we take on from our clients, restoration companies, roofers, we also handle all of the collection activity as well, too. So
that's great.
We take that out of their hands. So their back office people don't have to be burdened by that. We've done these claims for months and months and months, years and years. We've got it down. We know how to work with the insurance adjusters. We know how to get these things across the finish line, and that's a big help for particularly the smaller guys.
So
that
when you
don't
take
have that
when you
staff.
take on the paper, you actually go to the insurer and work on getting paid?
We do.
Oh,
yeah, we
I
do.
didn't realize that. Okay.
Yeah.
And so, and let me ask this for our contractors within the Restoration Association of Florida. And if you're interested in learning more about our organization, check us out online at www.raflorida.org. find out more about our membership and become a member if you're listening and you're an electrician, you're a plumber, you're a restoration contractor, a public adjuster, attorney, any of those folks that work in rebuilding a home, putting it back to pre-loss condition, or the membership that we're talking about. And we have folks like Craig here and like Hans to help you out when you're setting up your business or wanting to work in this. So roofers are perfect because that's right after a storm. That's the biggest asset that somebody needs. And I mean, money-wise, dollar-wise, right? I mean, that it's a lot of money, and it's an art to that. So, but let me ask you in this way. So if we're a roofing contractor or a contractor is listening to this and says, okay, how would we move forward with that? Is there a specialized contract that I would need to have? Is there a contract that you have between you and the contractor, or between you and the insured, or how does that work?
Yeah, so the first thing we're going to do, Richie, thanks for that, is just sit down and have a conversation. Understand their business, understand what their needs are, and see if there's a way that we can help them. We can't help everybody, obviously, and we're not going to try and insert ourselves where we can't be of benefit to someone. Sure. So once we've established that there's an opportunity for us to help them, provide them with some funding so they can continue to grow their business and take on more work, then we have a very simple agreement that we use between the two parties, just outlines the expectations in the relationship. We put that together. We do perform a background check on both the individual and the business just to make sure everybody's on the up and up. A number of years ago, we found somebody that had committed insurance fraud. We found that out the hard way. You can appreciate that,
Sure,
Hans.
sure.
And so we do that real simply. And then once that's done, we ask them to put together what we call a bundle or a portfolio of invoices, typically 10 in number. They present those to us. We put it through an underwriting process. Again, we've been at this for a long time, so we look at the claims the same way insurance carriers do. And then we decide, those are legitimate claims. Those are valid claims. There was a storm event, all the appropriate documentation is in place. And then we go forward. We say, hey, we're ready to fund you. And that takes a week to maybe two, just depending upon how clean their documentation is. Once we have everything in place, they're ready to go. We push the money via ACH transfer right to them, and then they have it, and they can go buy new materials, buy equipment, et cetera. We prefer typically to work with attorneys, claims and litigation, if you will, because they're the quarterback.
Right.
And they can make sure that everybody in the end gets paid, because obviously they're held to bar standards, et cetera, and it just makes for a much cleaner process for all of us.
So for someone more like right after a storm, they write let's say roofer writes a bunch of contracts, but then obviously they have trouble funding all of them to try to get them all going at the same time. They come to you with that bundle of contracts and say, this is what I have as far as what will become accounts receivable, and they can lend against that?
That's right, Hans. Okay. Yeah. So they put together a portfolio of invoices from multiple jobs that they have, present that to us. Again, we subject it to our own underwriting process, similar to the way the insurance company is going to do it, and then make that decision to go forward with funding. And again, we move very quickly. We're a small organization, turn on a dime, very professional, very responsive, great communicators. We don't encourage padding of invoices or any of that sort of thing. We use Xactimate as well, too. So, we work very closely with our folks to make sure that their claims are legit and that they're going to get paid, because when we take those on, we take ownership for them getting paid. We work it all the way across the finish line. As I said earlier, we work with the insurance carrier's adjuster.
Awesome. And then, and then if somebody does have a question for you and they're listening, I'll ask you a couple times today. What's the best way to get a hold of you, both email, phone-wise? Yeah,
so let me start with the website address, because people like to check out an organization. Sure. Real simple, www.natclaims.com. So natclaims.com. My email address is simply CBI for Craig, partially Bissell, so CBI, Cat Boyd Ivan at natclaims.com. And my phone number here in Florida is area code 561-770-7991.
All right. Boca numbers, all right?
It is, but I'm up in Central Florida. The entity is Hollywood based, but I'm up here in this marketplace.
All right,
So
Hollywood.
Did you go to the Oscars last night? What do you think?
Yeah.
Nice. I know Craig was that connected. That's
Well, he didn't answer it, so I think he was there. He's just not going to tell you.
Hollywood, Florida.
It's almost the same.
No, that's awesome. And I have great things. I mean, I have experience working with NCF and Alana. She's fantastic and such a personable person, and somebody that you would just take anywhere and would just introduce to anybody that you possibly know. I know I have. I work with your company. I think it's fantastic. It's such a great way for a contractor who's waiting it out along with the attorney and the homeowner. It takes a village, and we're all in it together until the end. And that's why we do it, I think, is I know it to be true, is to help people that otherwise can't be helped because they don't have the funds to do so. You know, like I tell my members, it's like we're all here today to learn how to work in insurance claims, because the rich people have their folks, right? The rich people have their people, and they just pay, boom, to get it fixed. We work for the people that can't afford it, the people that pay their insurance every day and that don't have the extra $10,000, $20,000 sitting around after a storm or an emergency happens. We step up for them, and we find ways to be able to say, you know what, I'm going to help you get back to pre-loss condition while we're waiting on the insurance company to make the payments, and which they take forever to do so. And in between, you can have more damage that comes through. Right. We talk about the tarp that blows over, and while we're waiting on the roof claim to get paid, more damage comes in, and the people that are living in a home full of mold. We have mold remediators that'll come out and they'll remove all that mold, and they'll give you a clear post-remediation verification certificate. So at least while you're waiting on the funds to come, you're not living in mold, you're not living in a harmful environment that continues to get worse and deteriorate while you're waiting on the claim to get paid. And as you know, claims take 2 years, 3 years, sometimes even more. And, and for years, I know my company, AQA, I mean, it takes so much of the receivables and holds it in hopes that the insurance companies will do the right thing, right? And so no longer do we have to back that when we have a company like yours to come in and help fund the wait for the insurance companies, right?
Absolutely. Well, you said earlier, deny, delay, defend, right?
That's right.
Yeah, or defend, delay, deny, whatever.
Doesn't matter.
Whatever the case may be.
Whichever we want to put them, it all works out the same.
Exactly. I mean, that's industry standard, right?
Yeah.
Hans, you deal with that every day. We deal with it every day. We just drive the insurance adjusters crazy. Call them, email them. They finally go, oh, God.
Let me get this on my desk.
Let's close this claim.
The squeaky wheel thing. I mean, sometimes, you don't want to be obnoxious about it, but at the same time, you got to squeak or you get put to the bottom of the pile. That's just how it goes.
You got to see some movement. You got to see it moving closer to the finish line. And that's,
I just think it's great that you guys actually go collect, because, you figure if you went to a conventional bank and want to take out an SBA loan or take out a business loan, the months it can take to do that, the plans, all those things. And then all they do is give you the money. They just go, here's your check. And you're back to being on your own. I mean, they're working with a company like yours. The fact that you actively work to get the claims adjusted, get them paid. I mean, the value-added aspect of that is huge for a small business.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, a question, though. Now, does that contractor have to use a direction-to-pay contract with the insured to guarantee that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's something good to know. Being a member of the Restoration Association of Florida, definitely every month when I give these lunch and learns, I'm literally giving out a sample contract approved by our legal committee and Hans and those folks that work in property damage. It's a simple, basic contract, but it gives a lot of protections to the contractor and to the consumer alike, because there are ways in here that says, you have a net 90-day contract, but you also have letter protection integrated in there. An LOP, or letter protection, is a lien on the insurance proceeds. So when the insured does hire a lawyer,
but it's not a lien on your house.
That's right.
Well, I mean, so that's an important, because people hear the word lien, they merely think of on my house. What, you're going to lien my home? And the liens we're talking about this situation is simply that when those proceeds come in from the insurance company, that you agree, as you should, because it's only fair, that those proceeds be given to the vendor, to the lender, whoever it may be first.
That's right. That's right. So you have a lien on the insurance proceeds. And like I tell people, they're like, oh my gosh, well, what does that mean? It's like, well, no recovery, no fee is what it means. I hate to say it that way because everybody has their little slogan or line, but, or Better Call Saul kind of thing. Right? I love that guy. But it really is in that way, right? Where if there is, like I tell people, basically it's like this. If there's $1 paid from your insurance company, I'm going to get a piece of that dollar. If there's no dollar to be paid on that, then we don't get anything because we have a lien on the insurance proceeds. And so that really is truly consumer protection, just like the AOB used to be. The assignment of benefit was a tool that protected the homeowners from getting litigated by the contractors or getting a lien. There was literally laws that said within the statute that said you are not able to lien the homeowner at all. Talk about a protection piece. All you have to do is sign this assignment of benefit, is signing a piece of your claim, just like we do when we walk into a doctor's office. You don't think it's magical that we go in and we sign a clipboard full of stuff. Nobody reads that stuff, but it's a full assignment of benefits, assigning your medical policy over to this doctor. And if you think your 85-year-old sweet doctor is not suing the crap out of your insurance company, well, you're on something, because they are. And you might think they're the sweetest person in the world, but they are suing. As soon as you leave there's a discrepancy between what your insurance company pays and what your doctor charges. X-ray people, Hans knows this. I mean, Hans has these clients as well too, and I'm like, I thought I was his only one a long time ago. I was like, and I looked online. I'm like, oh my God, he's cheating on me. Who's this X-ray guy? I thought I was his only inspector guy, but no. But he worked for those chiropractors,
Sure.
X-ray folks. Anybody had a dispute with their insurance because they just are lousy at paying their bills. Period.
Right.
So, but what I'm saying is this is a great testimony to you and your company, because now the AOB has been written out of law because of the $100 million that was given over to Governor DeSantis by quote unquote supposedly in crisis insurance lobby, but apparently they
just
pulled
so
it
we're
out.
clear, the assignment of benefits was taken away because it allowed an unsophisticated insured, a regular guy, to get the assistance of all the contractors and all the expert help he needed. And that made him a threat to the insurance company, because now guys like you and I and Craig show up instead of poor Joe Smith going, hi, I don't know how to do this. I don't know what the next step is. They're like, oh, we know what the next step is, sir. Don't you worry. Just sign here.
That's right.
So, I mean, that's why it's gone, because it was an important tool. You said it was talking about being a tool. It was a problem for the insurers, because now they have sophisticated people who are well versed in all of our industries, were the ones who are now knocking on their door. So, yes.
That's right.
Sorry.
No, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, it's like now the big change in the market, what do we do now? What is the play to help consumers, the folks that can't afford to put on their roof, can't afford to deal with their mold inside of their home while they're waiting on the insurance company? Because we do this. I'm a mold tester by trade. And you know how many folks we've walked into after a storm, 6 months after a storm, a year after a storm, saying, hey, we still haven't heard from our adjuster. And I look around and I'm going, I would not live in this. But they have no choice.
Yeah. Where do you go?
They have no choice. No. But now they do, right? Because then they can hire a contractor. You're listening now and you're living and you're looking around and you're going, well, Hurricane Milton really did a number on my house, and you're still living in it right now. And call us, at the Restoration Association of Florida. We have vendors, we have contractors that are members that would come out and perform the service. They'll sign the letter of protection. If you sign up with an attorney, you call Hans. Hans says, hey, yeah, use one of these guys and we'll get everybody paid at the end. On the settlement, and that's what attorneys can do differently than public adjusters, is where they can then move the money to where it needs to go to. When the money comes in, he can then have it paid out to everybody that's necessary, right? The mold remediation, the mold tester, whichever, to get rid of the mold, put a roof on, get rid of all that stuff that needs to be done. Then that contractor now has ways, now that you're in the picture, Craig, we have ways to take all these invoices in here while they're waiting in litigation to get it paid. So at least the contractor now says, okay, I've got some money to come out to put a roof on, or we can get the mold remediation done inside, and we all feel good that we're going to get paid.
And the nice thing too is, I'm thinking about it, is at the end of all this, if Craig's lending to all these vendors that we utilize, then all I got to deal with in the end is Craig.
That's
right? I mean, I come back to Craig and go, Craig, let's work it out. And he and I, as well as me talking to 5 contractors, I go back to Craig and go, okay, what do we got? Mm-hmm. And then we can make arrangements from there. Again, instead of having 5 guys, honestly, all saying, well, I want this, I want that, I want this, using his funding system, we just go back to him and say, okay, what do we owe you? We can figure it all out.
And we do that week in and week out, Hans. Yeah. We have consulting arrangements of all kind. We have a weekly meeting, with folks just like you, and say, okay, here are these 10 claims that we're working together. Here's the status on our end. Yeah. That's nice. It's really important. I mean, communication solves a lot of issues. And, to your point a minute ago, Richie, people are struggling, man. They can't get their house fixed. They can't find a contractor to come out. Contractor doesn't have the money to do the work, whatever the case may be. I'm not saying this just to be saying this. I had the privilege to attend the Lunch and Learn last week with the two of you. There is so much information that was imparted to folks. Well worth the investment in joining the organization. Lots of great information, lots of great resources, lots of great support. Had a chance to meet Annabelle as well, too. Just an unbelievable resource for you guys and communicators. So kudos to you guys for what you've brought to this organization. And, we hope to be able to be a part of that and to team with you guys.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And thank you for being a part of that as well. I mean, the goal for us is to continue to bring the education to the folks that they don't want us to tell out to the consumers and contractors that there are ways to put consumers back to pre-loss condition, and we can do this up front, and we know that that's going to keep the pressure on them to do the right thing, and it's only for the betterment of the consumer here in the state of Florida. So Thank you guys for joining. We're going to be right back after the break with Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell. All right, and we're back. Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell, 94.9 FM, 950 AM. If you're listening to us local here in the Central Florida area, every Monday night, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. live on this radio dial in Central Florida. If you missed the episode on Monday night, you're on everywhere you can think of streaming, from iTunes to Spotify, and on our YouTube page, Contractor Talk Podcast, as well as our website, contractortalkpodcast.com. All right, well, we're jumping right back into it. We got a lot of information to go over today. We are sponsored by the Restoration Association of Florida, raflorida.org, where contractors come to life and they bring information and great workmanship to you, the consumer who's dealing with their one time of need with their property insurance loss. We say we've looked at what the stats are on how many claims people deal with in their lifetime. And literally it's once in every 10 years to maybe once in a lifetime is when a normal, or when the average is on somebody dealing with a property insurance loss. So meaning that we don't deal with that most at all if you're somebody not within this industry. And so this is a very niche, special industry that we have here, but one that is well needed, especially with all the law changes that have happened in 2022. Really, we started to see the ship tides turn in really 2020, from Senate Bill 76 to all these consecutive bills all the way to the end in 2023 with that major bill, House Bill 837, that really put a death nail in all attorneys' fees when it came to trying to get that dispute, trying to get paid, trying to recover or recoup what you should have gotten already against your insurance company, whether it's in medical, whether it's in property and auto, and even in life insurance. They took away all prevailing party attorney's fees. And you might think, well, that's not such a big deal, until you have a dispute where your life insurance wasn't paid, right? On a family member who passed, or until, something medically came through to where now you're having to pay for experts out of your own pocket or out of your own settlement. So Hans, I know that's changed the market dramatically. And as an attorney, how have you seen that change?
Well, like I said, everything's now become I spent 25 years telling my clients, look, you get all your money and I get paid later by the insurer. So it was very fulfilling in that way, because you get to say, look, I'm not going to take a penny from you. Nothing comes out of you. The law is very clear that whenever they decide to settle, or we force them into settlement or force them to verdict, that they will pay you and they'll pay me separately. And it was not, it felt good. It was kind of I always found it more of a feel-good practice, not like, hi, I'm taking part of your money.
Right.
But then in December of 2022, when they passed this law for all policies that were issued or renewed after that time, all of a sudden, after all these years, I'm like, well, I have to take part of your money, and realizing these are economic claims, right? These are claims that have a fixed economic value. A roof is $20,000. If I take $5,000 from somebody, it's not like, well, I didn't need that money anyway. They need that money to complete the roof. So I'm literally taking money out of people's pockets. Right. I'm still doing well by them. We're still taking care of them. A lot of time, my time and my costs can get worked into the settlement. But I still have to tell them I may have to come to you and take money from you for something that they should have already paid you for. And it's really changed my mindset a lot. One of the reasons why I left Morgan & Morgan was that, honestly, John didn't like the idea of telling people he had to take money from them on an economic claim such as this. But my feeling continues to be this is still a valuable area. I still help people. I had a guy today. He needed 12. I got him 8. You know what? That was still a pretty good day. And had I not been in this business, or those of us who stuck it out through these changes, if we hadn't stuck it out, they would have offered him nothing. Right. I mean, which they do a lot now, because they're just kind of like, what are you going to do? Going to come sue me? Especially if it's citizens, then they're the DMV of insurance. They just don't care at all. That's right. But everyone else, I mean, we still do a lot of good for people. I think I've mentioned before that back in 2022. It was our position, the pendulum, or I call the wrecking ball, swung too far, took away too many rights. And back in 2022, people were scared of losing their insurance. There was a fear of, if I make a claim, I'll lose my coverage. They'll non-renew me. What I find now in 2024 into 2025 is people are angry about it.
Yeah.
They're not. They've gone from scared to angry.
Right.
And I think that's why we're seeing.
Well, and they're
this
still
new
scared to
legislation.
find new insurance, right?
Yes.
I mean, there's a guy I was talking to out in Tampa. I think I might have mentioned this last week. Great house, big house. He said it took forever to get his insurance policy to begin with. And now he's getting severe damage on the inside. He's been doing the repair here and there. First, the roof panel slid down, and then some other things are happening. And then he's like, "Oh, I need a mold test in it." And then I'm like, "You need a lot more than this. Like, you need a new roof. You need some. It's like 65% humidity inside of his house, where the humidity outside was 62%. I'm like, dude, you got problems. Like when it's 80% humidity, it's probably 80% humidity in there.
Wow.
He was like, yeah, pictures falling off the walls because of humidity and stuff.
Drywall's letting go.
Yeah, it's really that bad. And so I was like, well, why don't you? You can still file a claim for Milton because that's when he said he saw it or seen it. He's and I said, just so you know, it won't count against your loss runs. All hurricane claims or act of God are not considered to be a loss under your insurance policy. So let's all take that in. Like when you get a new insurance, they say, I need your loss runs for the last 3 years. Right? You can look at them straight in the eye if you have a hurricane claim and say, I have no losses. You can even tell them, I had a hurricane claim, but it doesn't count against me on my loss runs, right? Because that's what I understand to be true, and it is. It doesn't count against your loss runs. So if you do have a hurricane claim, don't be scared to file. That's why you have insurance. That's what I was saying. It's like, why do you even have it? So anyways, but I asked the guy, I said, well, why don't you file an insurance claim? He says, on this and get reimbursed. I mean, he seems like he has the money. He seems like he's fine, right? But I mean, just because you have it doesn't mean you want to pay it. That's why you pay your insurance. Anyways, long story short, I'm going this whole thing. But he was like, yeah, you know how long it took me to get insurance? I don't want to get canceled or dropped by my insurance, so I'd rather not file a claim. Like, that was his reason. I'm like, like all of these new insurance companies enter the market, and you can go to the OIR website, even though there's a bunch of douchebags, whatever. But you can go to their website, you can put in your address, your zip code, and it'll tell you the hundreds of insurance companies that are in your market, and that'll write you. Right. Just so you know, when you look up all the property insurance companies in the state of Florida, there are about 900 of them. Well, they're mixed together with auto and home. So out of that, let's say half of them are property. That's still like 400, 500 insurance companies in the state of Florida. People are like, oh, there's only like 10 of them. Excuse me. There's only like 10 of them here in the state of Florida. I'm like, no. I mean, AAA, Arc Royal, like, I'm staying in the A's. I'm like, and then B for Bankers. I'm like, no. There's a lot of insurance companies
you really
out
sit
there.
down and start doing the list. It actually is pretty substantial.
Yeah,
Security, I think of like I said, Security First, American Integrity, Loggerhead.
American Security,
Monarch.
American. I mean, there's a lot of American ones.
You just start going through the list.
Yeah, there's a ton of them. So when I think about it, I'm like, oh, right, there really is that many insurance companies. So when you think about it that way, so I just gave you a lot there. There's some tools that you can use if you're worried about insurance. And like we've said on the show years ago, when it was 2 years to file first notice of claim, we said you should shop your insurance every 2 years. Now it's 1 year to file first notice of claim, so you should be shopping your insurance every year for a new product or that gives you more coverages.
And if your agent can't help you, talk to one other agent at least. That's right. Because agents can only have so many lines because the insurers don't want to compete inside the same agency. So there may only be 4 or 5 property insurers that agent is allowed to rep without offending the others. That's right. The guy down the street's going to have 5 different ones, and the guy down the street's going to have 5 other different ones.
Instead of shopping insurance, shop agents that have different insurers that will write you, right? And then you'll see your like circle expand, and you're like, oh my goodness, there's all this. Like I ended up going from Heritage to Loggerhead. Who was Loggerhead? I don't know, but it was AAA executives. I went to Tampa and started a new company in 2022, and they have a fantastic product, so I bought it. Yeah. Going back to this, like in being able to, as a contractor, feel confident, like we did before years back. Everybody felt confident in using this tool that we had, which was the assignment and benefit tool. That allowed us, the contractor, to be in charge of our own billing, collection, and all that, which made us feel more safe to get paid. And we would go ahead and fund many of the operations up front. We wouldn't put your roof on. Well, some would if they knew that it was coming and that kind of thing. But we felt good because we had that tool. But then the past couple of years, you started to see that go by the wayside because of the law changes, the ways that we contract here in the state of Florida. And so how do we then feel good, confident as a business owner that has a lot of claims and trying to help everybody that can't afford it, waiting on the insurance company to pay? And that now is to have the proper contracts as a contractor and a protection model for homeowners that guarantees no liening of their home. But instead, you need to call Hans or an attorney at the end of that 90 days, right? Because that's what makes contractors feel comfortable is by time the insurance companies have a time to pay or deny is 60 days in the state of Florida now. So you file a claim, you get paid or denied within 60 days. You have 90 days for a contractor to file a lien right. So what most contractors came about, they said, listen, I'll give you 90-day net terms to run through your insurance to see if we get reimbursed. And I'm going to go ahead and do some services up front to stabilize the environment, get rid of mold, get the inspections in, paint the picture for the product or for the claim, turn that in for payment. And then if they say no, then we have 30 days to bring it over to Hans. Hans then files suit, and all of the contractors are on a letter of protection now, right? A letter of protection is a lien on insurance proceeds that they will get paid. Contractors get paid when the money comes in, and the homeowner gets the rest. Now, Craig, you're offering a product to the contractors that say, hey, I will fund you up front so you can go ahead and do the services while you're waiting for the remainder on the back end. And you handle not only the funding, but also the collections behind that.
That's
so
right.
That's fantastic.
That's right. It gives contractors the opportunity to go get more work is really what it amounts to, because otherwise they can't. If they don't have the resources, they don't have the funds. So we step in, provide that to them, and then we partner with them to get those claims across the finish line, or partner with Hans if he's the attorney on the case, et cetera.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And it's great as a consumer to know also, because everybody has a friend, right? Oh, I have a friend who's a real estate attorney. Let me call them. And you're like, oh, God. That's what I say on the inside. Like, oh, you really need a property attorney, not a real estate attorney, or not somebody that's like, yeah, sure, I can do that for you. Because then that doesn't help anybody. It delays the claim, gets them underpaid.
You need somebody like Hans who's done nothing but this work. There's a lot of guys out there that do also personal injury that think they could do property claims adjudication as well too. No, you need a guy like Hans who's that's all he's done for 30 years.
Yeah. You don't dabble. You don't want to dabble. It's like tax, I say. It's like tax law. You don't want to dabble.
Right.
You don't want to dabble in tax. You're like, it's very. This is the most complicated stuff, really, I find, that's really out there these days.
Well, it is because, you're dealing with the insurance companies, and they have their own cadre of lawyers as well, too. So, it takes someone that's got legal expertise to be able to punch through that.
In this specific industry, which is a total niche industry. And within 30 seconds, get out your phone, put in lawyer, add in Hans. You will need him at some point. Go.
407-782-0258. That's 407-782-0258, Hans, H-A-N-S.
That's how you do it. Next to Better Call Saul is Better Call Hans, and that's if you have a situation where you have property damage or any type of insurance dispute, call Hans. He will help you out with the Kennon Law Group. All right, we got one more break here, give some thanks to our sponsors, and we'll come back, finish up our show here on Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell and our special guest, Craig, with NCF. All right, and we are the answer. Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell, 94.9 FM, 950 on the AM dial here in the Central Florida area. If you're listening or tuning in right now and you just missed the first part of the show, it's okay. You can listen to us on Spotify, on iTunes, anywhere you can stream, or jump on over to us on YouTube if you want to see Hans' dapper suit of the day, or just interested to see what we got going on here in the studio. Our YouTube page is the place to go. Get it, Hans. And anywhere else from our website, we have all of our other Instagram and all that other stuff on contractortalkpodcast.com. And we are sponsored by and powered by the Restoration Association of Florida, raflorida.org. Thank you, Annabelle, for raising your hand to give us a little holler for the Restoration Association. She's our executive director and was on the show a few weeks ago. We need to have her back on the show, put you on the spot. Again, love that. We're going to do that. All right. So Craig, we were just talking about how we can then help consumers through contractor financing, and it's fantastic. And when you think about all of the negative stuff that we've had to deal with through all these law changes, with businesses, with different companies going out of business, and going into bankruptcy and all this other stuff because of the crazy changes and the way you cannot go after insurance companies the way that you used to, because all the laws just got changed to where it's like a slap on the wrist. There used to be how do we want to say, like, actual repercussions in place, and to where they would have what they called bad faith, and to where if they were slow walking a claim, if they were running it in a bad way, outside of good faith, outside of what they were supposed to do, that was that hammer. Not only the attorney fees are the hammer. How do you penalize an insurance company? Money, right? Is you tacking on extra fees and costs that they have to pay, which is like Hans fees and cost to litigate, and then that bad faith mechanism, that hammer that comes in as a multiplier. They're always afraid of that, so they would eventually do the right thing having those in place. But over the past couple of years, all of them have been eroded away to where there's basically no bad faith. It's a separate action now, and most people don't want to go through it. Once they get paid, they just want to move on, right? And then when you do get paid, the insurance companies want a full release, right? No bad faith, not this. We don't admit anything, but here's a bunch of money, but we don't admit anything, right? That's their famous move, right? So there's nothing you can really do in a way to help your consumer in a short time, right? To be able to make them whole now while they're playing the games and waiting a year or two. But you guys came up with a solution during that time where all these things have changed and folks are really having a hard time. You know, what do they say? I'm still going to say it wrong, but within whatever, poverty comes, and within like a bad thing, something good comes out of it. I was hoping for some help there, but anyway.
Well, I'm not sure about that one. What I can say is that what insurers bank on is that their insureds will give up. It becomes a war of attrition. And I always say when you come home and you close the door behind you, it should be a little bit of sanctuary, right? You should be able to close your front door of your home, kind of turn around, put your lean on the door and go, whew, okay.
Right. I'm safe. This is my safe
I'm
place.
safe. I made it home. Then you go sit in your lazy boy and you can look at the stars at night while you're watching Dancing with the Stars. That's not sanctuary. I mean, that just isn't.
You don't watch The Voice?
I do watch The Voice, actually. Okay. But the stars and the stars thing works better.
I can see you as a dancer.
But it's no longer sanctuary. But that's what grinds them down. That's what makes people finally call me and go, look, I don't care. We got to get this. I got to get this done.
Right. I'll take 50 cents on the dollar. Right. I don't care. Just get me out.
Whatever I get out.
Yeah.
And the problem is that empowers the insurers to essentially be rewarded for that conduct. What Craig's offering the contractors is a place to give people back through their contractor, give them back their sanctuary, which makes them honestly more well-rested. All those things that seemed trite at the time all become very important, and it gives people the will to fight, the will to stand up to the insurer that they're not going to have if their wife or their kids or whatever the situation may be is complaining about the fact that the pipes don't work, or there's a hole in the roof, or my room's wet again from the ceiling, or I got mold. You're worried about your kids. You take away all those stressors, and people have a lot of resilience and have a lot of anger, and are more willing to fight for what they're owed to put their house back together.
It certainly does. It empowers them to be able to push forward and say, Hans, we're not going to lay down. We're not going to take this. So let's full court press these guys.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. And that's our answer to what the insurance companies are doing now by delaying, denying, defending our claims that are rightfully so. We have a hurricane go over your house and they deny you. In the paper, we've talked about this several shows ago, even in the Times and the local papers, that just in the state of Florida, from the 2 hurricanes that came through, Citizens was reported to deny 77 or underpay 77% of all claims. They're either underpaid, underdeductible, or fully denied. And then back to that, second was Snake Farm at 50%.
Yep.
And I believe it was All Snake at 47%.
Yep.
So you are not in good hands. They are not a good neighbor. And when you have that type of situation, then it's good to have a contractor that can bring you up to the know and say, well, there have been many different changes going on, and they have an RAF sticker on their van when they show up, so they know this. They come up and they say, homeowner, we've got a solution for you. I know you have Citizens, which is the DMV of all insurance, and maybe you get paid this year, maybe not, but we're going to be able to put your house back to pre-loss condition today. They would start crying. They're going to be very thankful. And it's because of a company like you giving them confidence to be able to say, hey, I'm going to do all this work. I'm going to get funded. And while we're waiting on the rest of the money to come in, I'm still waiting. I'm still able to put you back to pre-loss condition. Right. I mean, what a great resource to have. And so I'm thankful that you're here to share your story and your company. And, you know, I'm hoping that our contractors get a lot from this and from our show and the reels that we're going to push out to then make sure that they contact you, because then they have a solution in their back pocket. I think the roofers are coming to the door with, what are they saying, financing solutions?
Yep. Oh, yeah.
So, but then that puts the homeowner in the place to where they're actually paying for it. And what if they don't want to ding on their credit? What if they don't have
we
credit?
talked about before. I mean, folks come to us at the worst time in their life to some extent, right?
Right.
And they're not coming when they're most robust, or most well financed, anything that, to come to us at a time, in a true time of need, their home's been damaged or destroyed, all those things. They don't have the ability perhaps to take on yet another bill. I mean, that's the reality of it. I remember a couple of the day, and they're both on Social Security. And I said, look, I think I can help you get a roof finance for like $400 a month. I mean, if you look at roofing in the big scheme of housing, isn't all that expensive. Like $20,000 roof over 4 or 5 years, about $400 a month, $425. But they were like, can't do it. And I'm like, look, I'm begging you, don't take this money, because there was money on the table.
Oh, right.
But not enough. And they said, we can't. I said, I'm begging you, and they were getting forced place coverage put on them for $450 extra per month. In addition to their normal premium, $450 a month. And I said, the cost of the roof every month will be less than the forced place policy. They only owed $60,000 on their house. And I said, the forced place policy only covers the amount of the mortgage. So they're down to $60,000 on a $300,000 house. They have $240,000 in equity. The place burns down, they're getting $60,000, which is going to go to the mortgage company to pay it off. I mean, it was like being on like Mission Impossible. You're like, how do I figure this out so these people don't lose their house, don't get bad insurance, don't let their house burn to the ground? I mean, and the very thing. And had I known, that was the day before I met Craig, if I had said, hey, wait a minute, let me get you a contractor, and we can, because they had a decent insurance claim, but they were just terrified. They were just petrified by the idea.
Don't tell me they took the money.
No, we didn't, because in the end we said, I made me think for a second. But no, in the end, because sometimes they do, and I'm like, no. But no, they passed
it's like
on
deal
it.
or no deal. It's like you never know when somebody's going to hit the button and be like, what are you doing?
The problem is, though, sometimes people take these real low dollar offers just because they want to be done. But then there's not enough money to actually fix the house or even repair the home. And then then the next year, a bigger storm comes through. They make a new claim, and the insurer goes, hey, you settled this last year for $1,000.
Right.
What'd you do? And they go, we couldn't afford to do anything with that kind of money. And they go, well, but you agreed you were going to repair your home, signed settlement agreement. And I said, forget today. Today's going to be over. But a year from now, if you have a bad claim or a bigger claim, they're going to come back to you and say, we already paid you for this loss, no matter how little the number is.
That's right.
Sorry.
No, I mean, and you're right. I mean, and timing is everything, right? I mean, and now we have an opportunity to bring to a client and say, we have a contract we can recommend in our network that works in this type of specialty that can get it to a place to where we can get you to pre-loss condition. And whether that means putting a new roof on, whether it means putting some walls up or removing mold, whatever that is, there are contractors that can be able to do that and put you back to a space to where you're not biting your nails when the next storm season comes through. Am I going to make it through the storm season?
Yeah.
Or like you said, then have additional damages that were already paid or covered under a underpaid or denied claim, even worse, right? So if you don't go after that as well, if you do finally have the courage to file a claim and then it gets denied, and it's a really good claim, some people actually take that and be like, well, the adjuster was really, really nice, and he did a good job. He got up everywhere and everything, but I got the letter, or the crappy letter, which is even worse, which is that we acknowledge you have damages, which is the amount of $5,988. Your deductibles, $6,000.
Ooh, so close.
Barely missed it. So we acknowledge you have damages, but you're under deductible, so you're getting nothing.
That's why every property insurance claim needs to be represented by an attorney, period.
That's right.
Yeah.
It unfortunately has turned that way to where you need representation, because the insurance companies know when you're not. They play the numbers.
Absolutely.
And they know that most people will not hire a public adjuster. They will not hire an attorney, or they won't use a contractor, so to speak, that knows how to work in this environment. But at the end of it, you need to get with somebody that can bring it home, which unfortunately these days is with an attorney. And so we hear, though, now the legislative session is supposed to start tomorrow. That we will start to see bills be filed that hopefully will be in the favor of the consumer. We have a new regime in. That means every 2 years there's a new Speaker of the House, there's a new Senate President. And the last 2 years, we've just had a bad setup with a let's just say, just not so good setup for the consumers. This year, we know Daniel Perez is the Speaker of the House. He's fantastic. He's really going to be for the consumer this year. We're going to hopefully see some great things coming from it, and we'll see. As you say, it depends, and we don't know, but we hope that we're going to have to see some change, and we mean bringing some hammers back against the insurance companies to help out consumers. And one of them may be attorney's fees, right? And they're going to call it something similar to loser pays, which is still a great way for us to get a consumer back to pre-loss condition without them having to come out of pocket. We talk about this all the time of being in a dispute. Well, if somebody just needs $10,000 to replace their roof and they get wrongfully denied from their insurer, and they got to hire an engineer like my company, and then they have to hire Hans, where everybody's taking a piece, by the time the homeowner gets the money, is the juice going to be worth the squeeze, right? And so the answer in a lot of times is no, and that's unfortunate. But if they get with folks in our network, we can absolutely help them on that. But really, we're trying to hope that consumers get a fair shake this year in our Florida legislature. So keep an eye out for that, and really stay tuned to our show here, Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell. Every Mondays, we'll update you as the Florida session moves along. So a lot of great information for you guys every week here. And Craig, thank you so much for being on our show. Last time, how do we get a hold of you?
So again, 3 ways. Website is www.natclaims.com. My email address is cbi, so catboyivan @natclaims.com. And by phone, 561-770-7991. Call or text, either way.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And Hans, thank you again for being here, giving your advice, and giving your information. One more time, how do we get a hold of you? You need an attorney here in the Central Florida area.
Sure. Cell phone, 407-782-0258, 407-782-0258.
And call or text the same way. How many times have Hans got a random text with a picture of a policy and saying, what do I have in here? Am I covered? And yes, you can absolutely do that anytime. Thank you for listening to the show. Check us out, www.raflorida.org, for sponsorship and membership. We'll talk to you guys later. Thanks. See you.